Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. We're going to jump right in because today we're taking a fascinating journey into a deeply emotional and transformative philosophy. We're talking about the Islamic concept of charity, known as Sadaqah. Now, as we're going to see, this isn't just a simple lesson about tossing some spade change into a donation box. No, it's an entirely comprehensive worldview about wealth, human connection, and divine reward. So, let's get into it. Let's kick things off with a pretty heavy question. What truly goes with you to the grave? It's one of those thoughts that forces us to confront the illusion of worldly wealth. I mean, think about it. We spend so much of our waking lives accumulating things, right? Houses, cars, building our whole identities around what we own and consume. But what happens when we pause and realize the stark reality that eventually every single piece of that material wealth will just be left behind?
People spend decades of their lives obsessing over temporary assets. We're talking hoarding land, gold, endlessly refreshing, ever-growing bank balances. But the reality is actually incredibly stark. The only heavy, eternal investments we carry forward to the grave are literally just a simple white shroud and our deeds. While so many of us spend our lives optimizing financial portfolios, this philosophy emphasizes that the only investments we truly carry forward are our actions. And one of the absolute heaviest of those deeds, you guessed it, charity.
Because of this, Sadaqah isn't viewed as just a simple financial transaction. It's a profound act of faith. It's designed to actively cleanse the heart, break down human arrogance, and even cool the anger of Allah. It basically acts as a spiritual mechanism to help believers detach from greed. It's a constant, humbling reminder for us that humans aren't the true owners of their wealth. Rather, Allah is the ultimate provider of all sustenance. And wealth, well, it's simply a trust placed in our hands for a very short time.
Now imagine an investment with a guaranteed 700 times return. No way, right? Well, this is the divine multiplier. There's a powerful promise from the Quran that compares a single act of charity to a tiny seed. A seed that grows into 7 ears, with each ear holding 100 grains. That is an unimaginable, literal 700 times return on investment. Think about it. While people put money in traditional banks crossing their fingers for a tiny fraction of interest, this framework offers profound, exponential spiritual growth for every single act of sincere giving.
But, human nature being what it is, it often gets in the way. A huge psychological hurdle for most of us is the fear of poverty. It's that whispering anxiety in the back of your mind that says, hey, if I give this away, what if I need it tomorrow for my own family? Well, the Islamic perspective teaches that this specific fear is actually a trick from Satan. A true believer is meant to push right past that anxiety, trusting fully that the God who provided for them today will absolutely provide for them tomorrow.
Which brings us to this absolutely incredible quote from Prophet Muhammad: "Charity does not decrease wealth." Let's just take a second to absorb that, because it's a completely counterintuitive truth. Mathematically speaking, sure, if you give money away, your bank balance is lower. But spiritually, the philosophy argues the exact opposite. While the physical cash in your wallet might drop, the unseen divine blessing, which is known as barakah, actually multiplies. It's the beautiful idea that a large sum kept greedily brings absolutely no peace, but a small amount given freely brings immense, unquantifiable blessings right into your life.
And this philosophy acts as a really powerful critique of our current culture. Everywhere we look, we are surrounded by performative charity. You know exactly what I mean. Cameras rolling, handing out cash, instantly uploading it for likes and views. But contrast that with the Islamic gold standard, secret charity. The ideal here is to give so quietly that your left hand literally doesn't even know what your right hand is given. The teaching is crystal clear. If your goal is human applause, well, that applause is your only reward. But secrecy preserves the total sincerity of the act, ensuring the ultimate reward remains divine.
History is totally full of legendary examples of this mindset from the early days of Islam. Take Abu Bakr, for example, a very close companion of the Prophet. When he was asked to give to a cause, he didn't just bring a percentage of his savings, he brought his entire wealth, the whole shebang. When the Prophet asked him what he had left for his family at home, Abu Bakr simply replied, "Allah and His Messenger." This story is consistently held up as the absolute pinnacle of faith and total reliance on God.
And he definitely wasn't the only one. Let's look at Uthman, another incredibly prominent figure. During a time of immense need in the community, Uthman didn't just toss in a few coins. He donated an entire trading caravan. We're talking hundreds of camels, completely loaded with food, wealth, and vital resources. This staggering, massive act of generosity was so profound that it prompted the Prophet to declare that nothing Uthman did after that day could ever harm him spiritually. Talk about setting a high historical bar for generosity. But, okay, here is where the philosophy takes a massive, really important paradigm shift. It teaches that the poor are not beggars of your mercy, they are actually collecting their God-given right from your wealth. This completely reframes the mindset of the giver. It shifts the act of giving away from being a stroke of personal ego, where you get to feel like some generous savior, to the humble fulfillment of a divine duty. You aren't doing them a favor, you're simply handing over what God already allocated to them, and you're just acting as the vessel.
And it gets even more inclusive than that, because you might be wondering, what if I don't have vast wealth? Well, the beauty of this system is that a simple smile, removing a harmful object from the road, or even just working really hard to feed your own family, these are all considered highly rewardable acts of charity. Even the simple, loving act of giving your spouse a bite of food, or showing genuine affection to an orphan, Islam so beautifully considers all of these everyday non-monetary acts of kindness as completely valid forms of sadaqah.
This principle is perfectly crystallized in another incredibly powerful saying: save yourself from hellfire even with half a date. You don't need to be a millionaire to earn paradise. The overarching theme here is always sincerity over quantity. Even the absolute smallest, most seemingly insignificant gesture, like sharing just half of a piece of fruit or offering a thirsty person a simple glass of water, can carry immense spiritual weight. If it's done with a pure heart, it can literally open the doors of heaven.
So who exactly receives this charity? Well, there is a very clear, highly structured community safety net. The primary recipients include the poor and helpless, orphans and widows who have lost their providers, people overwhelmed by crippling debt, and travelers or the sick who find themselves stranded and in need. It's essentially a comprehensive social welfare system built directly into the religious framework, and it ensures that the most vulnerable layers of society are continually protected and uplifted.
Now, these lofty spiritual concepts are firmly grounded in a painful everyday accountability. Just imagine eating a lavish multi-course meal to break your fast, while completely ignoring a starving neighbor right next door. It's a really forceful reminder against hypocrisy. True faith isn't just about your personal rituals. It's deeply, deeply tied to your social responsibility. The teaching is that you literally cannot be a true believer with a soft heart if you continuously indulge while the people right next to you go hungry. And honestly, the motivation to step up and act is huge, because the benefits are immediate. The very moment a person decides to give, a multitude of both worldly and spiritual benefits just rain down. It forgives sins, actively removes impending danger or calamity from your path, and brings that divine barakah, that blessing, to your daily sustenance. It softens a hardened heart, and ultimately it brightens the grave. It's truly a holistic cure for both the material and spiritual struggles of life. All of this builds to a striking emotional climax regarding the afterlife. Picture the terrifying, intense heat of the Day of Judgment, a day when traditions say the sun is brought suffocatingly close. The magnificent promise is this: on that exact day, a believer will find physical shade under their charity. The very money, food, or time you selflessly gave away in this world, it miraculously transforms into a protective, cooling canopy for you in the next. Your worldly generosity literally becomes your otherworldly shelter.
Which brings us to our final, most provocative thought for today. Will you wait until it is too late to say, "My Lord, send me back so I can give charity"? This highlights the heavy, incredibly poignant reality of post-death regret. The primary thing the deceased begged to return for isn't more time to work or play or sleep. It's specifically for the chance to give charity. We really hope this explainer has given you a profound look into the philosophy of Sadaqah, inspiring you to reflect on your own actions and the sheer power of taking sincere, immediate action today. Thank you so much for learning with us, and we'll catch you on the next explainer.